There are forms of hunger that food cannot satisfy. In the northern forests of North America, winter could hollow a person out long before it killed them. Food disappeared first, then sleep. The others noticed the change before he did. He lingered too long beside the food stores. Sometimes he wandered into the trees for hours at a time, returning frostbitten and strangely distant. And eventually, nobody in the camp wanted to sit beside him anymore, because something far older than starvation had begun to consume him. This is the Wendigo. Isolation, greed, something struggling to stay human. Across the northern forests of North America, stories like these spread through Algonquian-speaking communities long before Europeans ever attempted to write them down. Different regions carried different names: Wendigo, Witiko, Wetiko. But the fear surrounding them remained disturbingly familiar. Stories described figures moving silently through snowstorms, ash-gray skin stretched over visible bones, sunken eyes, almost no lips left. The smell of rotten corpse reaching camp before the creature itself did. And no matter the variation, the hunger always seemed to lead back to the same place: human flesh. That hunger was not seen as something separate from the world around it. Among many Algonquian traditions, forests, animals, rivers, and human beings existed within the same fragile spiritual balance. And in cultures where survival depended on the community, selfishness became more than a personal flaw. It became deadly. The oldest written account appeared in 1636, when a Jesuit missionary described stories shared among indigenous communities about a terrifying being tied to cannibalism and winter starvation. But the stories themselves were already ancient, long before Europeans ever wrote them down. Some traditions described the Wendigo as a spirit capable of possessing human beings. Others described ordinary people transforming after acts of cannibalism during extreme starvation. Over time, the line between monster and man became difficult to separate. The transformation usually began quietly. A hunter withdrawing from the group. Conversations stopped when he approached. Prolonged stares during meals. Sleep becoming difficult. Hidden scraps. Nobody could point to a single moment when something changed. Yet somehow, everyone felt it. By then, people feared more than the cold. Some stories claimed the Wendigo could mimic human voices from beyond the tree line. Others claimed the creature could never stop feeding, no matter how much it consumed. And in some traditions, somewhere beneath the ribs, the Wendigo carried a frozen heart. That was what made the stories so unsettling. The Wendigo was never simply a creature hiding somewhere deep in the forest. It could emerge within the camp itself. And over time, the stories began surfacing alongside real winters and real acts of cannibalism. In the winter of 1878, a Cree trapper named Swift Runner traveled into the wilderness with his family during hunting season. Months later, he returned alone. Swift Runner claimed his wife and children had died of starvation during the winter. But investigators noticed something unsettling almost immediately. He did not look like a starving man. He appeared healthy and well-fed, despite the brutal winter conditions. When authorities finally searched the site, they discovered butchered human remains scattered throughout the area. Bones had been broken apart for marrow extraction. Human fat still lined the cooking pots. Swift Runner eventually confessed. He admitted to killing and consuming his wife, mother, and children, including one child killed after winter had already ended. And when asked why he had done it, Swift Runner claimed he had been possessed by the Wendigo. The case spread quickly through both settler and indigenous communities. A year later, swift runner was executed by hanging in Fort Saskatchewan, becoming the first legal execution in Alberta. Even now, the story feels deeply unsettling because it exists in the uncomfortable space between folklore, psychology, and reality. A man consumed by starvation, or something the stories had been warning about all along. By the 1930s, missionaries, anthropologists, and psychiatrists were using the term Wendigo Psychosis to describe cases involving paranoia, violent behavior, depression, and cannibalistic obsession. Some individuals claimed they felt possessed. Others became terrified they might transform into Wendigos themselves. The diagnosis later became controversial. Some researchers saw it as a culturally shaped response to famine, isolation, and extreme psychological stress. Others argued colonial observers had misunderstood indigenous spiritual beliefs entirely. Because the Wendigo resists easy explanation. Spirit, metaphor, psychological collapse. It moves constantly between those meanings without ever fully settling into one. Under enough pressure, hunger can begin eroding the boundaries that hold communities together. Survival slowly becomes more important than compassion. Other people stop feeling like people. In his book, Columbus and Other Cannibals, Native scholar Jack D. Forbes described exploitation and colonialism as forms of cannibalism themselves. A society consuming human lives while teaching itself to see the violence as normal. That idea feels disturbingly close to the Wendigo. Its hunger can take many forms. It becomes greed, power, consumption without restraint. The conditions changed. The appetite did not. Modern life rarely resembles those frozen forests anymore, yet the same appetite continues surfacing in different forms. Endless consumption, endless distraction. Entire systems built around keeping people hungry for more. And somehow the wanting only grows louder. A person can be weakened by starvation. They can also be hollowed out by excess. Perhaps that is why the old stories never fully explained what the Wendigo truly was. A spirit possessing human beings? A psychological condition born through starvation and isolation? Or a metaphor describing the darkest corners of human nature? Because somewhere beneath the folklore and centuries of retelling, the Wendigo still asks the same question. What happens when hunger becomes stronger than the things that make us human? Carry your torch and join us on the descent.